Welcome back. Today we're diving into a source called idea mastery. And it really challenges that old idea of creativity just being some random spark.
Right. It positions it very differently.
Yeah, so our mission here is to unpack this concept of creative thinking competence. The source defines it not as inspiration, but as this dynamic, intentional process.
And the reading sets up this really interesting post-reading activity, a debate, focused squarely on this statement. Creative thinking can be taught and mastered like any other skill.
Okay.
So the core of our discussion today should probably revolve around the structure the reading provides, because honestly, that structure is the main evidence for one side of that debate.
Got it. So let's lay out that framework. Basically, the source says creative thinking is a competence, this ability to systematically generate innovative, effective solutions, not just random ideas.
Exactly, systematically. And it breaks this down into three, you could say, intentional phases. And these phases are really the foundation for arguing that creativity is a skill you can learn.
Okay, phase one.
Phase one is preparing for creativity. And this isn't passive. It involves, specific actions like actively engaging in diverse experiences, looking at things from multiple perspectives, trying to uncover patterns maybe others don't see.
So it requires certain qualities.
Yeah, the reading mentions it demands curiosity, definitely, but also empathy and depth. You need those to really connect different concepts in new ways. It's like gathering the raw materials.
Okay, that makes sense. But then phase two, generating ideas. Isn't that inherently messy?
Yeah.
That's the part people usually think of as pure inspiration, maybe chaos?
Well, yes and no. It can feel messy, but idea mastery frames it with structure, too. It's not just, throwing spaghetti at the wall. There's a method.
How so?
It talks about a progression. You start with fluency, just generating a lot of ideas, quantity over quality initially. Then you shift to flexibility, making sure those ideas come from different categories, different angles. And only then, after you've pushed past the obvious stuff through fluency and flexibility, do you really get to originality. So the discipline here is actually in the process, in pushing yourself through those stages.
Right, not just stopping at the first few easy ideas.
Yeah.
And I guess this leads to the third phase, implementing ideas and solving problems, which feels very practical, very skill-based.
Absolutely. This is, I think, often the overlooked part of creativity. Having the idea is one thing, but making it real. That's where mastery really shows.
How does the source define that?
It's about experimentation, getting feedback, iterating on the idea, refining it based on how it actually works or doesn't work in the real world. It requires skills like communication, persuasion, getting people on board.
So it's about translating the abstract into something concrete, a tangible outcome.
Precisely. And that translation process is absolutely a skill, or maybe a set of skills, you can learn and improve.
Okay, so let's circle back to that core debate then. Can creative thinking be mastered like any other skill? It sounds like the evidence from this structure, prepare, generate, implement, strongly supports the yes side.
It really does. The whole reading frames it as a discipline, right? It shows these distinct phases, each requiring specific techniques like experimentation, pushing boundaries, structure generation. It suggests that by learning and practicing these components, individuals can definitely get better at it. It equips you.
But what about the counter-argument? The reading does pose that initial question, is it something you're born with? Is there anything in the structure itself that supports the idea that some innate talent is still required?
Well, you could point back to that preparation phase. While the overall process is presented as teachable, the reading does explicitly state that this first phase demands not only curiosity, but also empathy and depth. So someone arguing against pure skill mastery could say, look, maybe these qualities, empathy, deep curiosity, are prerequisites. Maybe they're more like innate traits. And if you don't have that foundation, perhaps the techniques taught later won't yield truly original or meaningful results.
That's a fair point. It suggests maybe you need something to build upon before the formal teaching can really take hold.
It's definitely the nuance in the argument. But the reading's final conclusion seems to lean back towards action, doesn't it?
It does. It says creative thinking begins with openness, which feels like a choice, an action you take. And it ends with transformation, which is framed as the result of that disciplined work we talked about.
So the structure is kind of like the roadmap. Your starting point might differ based on innate curiosity or whatever, but the path forward involves applying these systematic steps.
Exactly. It puts the onus back on the individual to engage with the process.
A good way to put it. You're responsible for applying the structure.
Right. So maybe a final thought for you listening. Considering those three phases, preparing, generating, and implementing, which one do you tend to maybe skip over or struggle with the most.
Mhm.
And thinking about it as a skill, what's one specific action you could take this week to start building that muscle, to make that phase more systematic for yourself?
That's a great takeaway challenge, food for thought.